Thank you so much. We will be doing our reading first. Pull it up here really quick. All right, so this is Every Day is Earth Day by Kelly Roper. Every day is Earth Day, or at least it should be. We should take steps every day to save our planet, don't you agree? Try walking when it's practical and skip driving a car. It will help cut down on emissions and raise air quality by far. Reuse, renew, recycle. Think of how much you throw away. Our Earth can only hold so much trash. One day, there'll be the devil to pay. And when it comes to littering, it's not enough to clean up after yourself. Leave places better than you find them and pick up litter left by someone else. Don't spray your garden with pesticides, protect the birds and bees. Choose natural ways of deterring pests that won't carry poisons in the breeze. These are easy things we all can do to protect the earth for future generations. If we continue to ignore all the warning signs, we'll face sad and irreversible ramifications. Well, thank you so much for having me here, first of all, today. It's an absolute honor to be able to talk about my passion for taking care of the planet and other people. Regina did a great job with that introduction. And so my name is Jessica Thompson. I am the owner of Be Joyful Shop, Michigan's first zero waste shop right here in the Kalamazoo area. And our story, which she highlighted there, helps to share kind of where I come from and also why my passion is as strong as it is. And we'll just briefly go through it. I heard some oohs and ahs going on out there with the story as I get. So from the time I was 2 until the time I was a senior in high school, I grew up about 90% off the grid. My parents built a log cabin from scratch, like cut down the trees and peeled them, sort of thing. And we did not have indoor plumbing, running water, electricity. We didn't have any of that growing up. Until my senior year, we got a toilet inside the house and a bathtub. It was very exciting. We still had to like heat the water though on the stove and pour it in, so it wasn't that cool. But growing up that way, and just my extended family as well, they just really instilled in me that not only was it important to take care of ourselves, but that we needed to think of others. We needed to think about our community and taking care and being kind to other humans, because there were a lot of humans on the planet, and it's not just about us. And then also taking care of the planet. Turns out we only have one of these that we can all live on, so we should probably do the best that we can with it. And so that's how I grew up. And like Regina said, when I came here to go to college, I really, really like convenience. It's nice to be able to not burn yourself when you're trying to turn on a light, or get up in the middle of the night and have to go outside in the snow to use the restroom. So those are really handy things. But one of the things that comes with that convenience sometimes is excessive waste. And because we're just so used to it, right? And so I go to college and I'm really enjoying all of the modern amenities. Fast forward a little bit, I got married, had 7 kids, not 7, I had 5 kids in 7 years. I mean, I have 8 now, but at the time I had 5 kids in 7 years, which is still like enough. And unfortunately, when the youngest was 2, got divorced. And so I was a single mom for the next 12 years of my 5 kids with little to no help at all. So things were a little rough. At one point, we were living in a 2-bedroom apartment, the 6 of us, and we did the best we could. But in the midst of that, as a mom, I wanted to do the best I could for my family. I wanted to give them the best foods we could. I wanted to give them the best products that we could. And I'm sure you all know, organic food, good products, those all cost a lot. They can slap a label on that, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's organic, it's natural, it's 5 times the amount that the other junk is, right? So it's really, really difficult. But I wanted to do those things that were good, and so we would scrimp in other places so I could give them better foods. This is about the same time the kids are getting older, and they're starting to come home and tell me, oh, did you know how bad plastic is? And I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm well aware. Did you know about this garbage and that garbage and all these chemicals? And I'm like, yes, I know. Well, what I didn't know, because in my brain, I was thinking of the waste, right? That was instilled in me. Reuse, reduce, recycle, like the 3 R's, right? And I started looking at some of the things they were bringing home, and I started researching and doing my own checking. And it's not just the waste. It's all of the bad chemicals and all of these things that when that plastic wrap touches the food, now it's breaking off those nanoparticles and now we're eating them, and all of those plastic things are messing. There's hormone disruptors in there for all of my little bodies, all of my little people that are growing. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. We have to do something. What can I find? What can I do to change that? So I started looking. I couldn't afford any of the things. There were stasher bags and there were bento boxes and this and that. I couldn't afford any of it. It was ridiculously priced. Now multiply that by 5, absolutely not. So I kept looking and looking and looking. I went to wax paper at one point, but then I found this product in Australia. It was really cool. It was a reusable food wrap, and again, couldn't afford it. I think it was $30 for one at this point. And then add on shipping from Australia. Apparently that's ridiculous. So I started looking into that because that one intrigued me the most. It looked very natural, and I figured out I could make them. So we started making them. That was our first product, the reusable food wrap. It's cloth and wax and oil. It's actually the process that they mummify people with. So I would always say, if it's going to keep a mummy looking that good, it's going to keep an avocado for a week. So, and they worked really, really well. And we went and got all the fabric that they wanted, and we started making this product. And all of the kids' teachers when you have 5 kids, everybody knows you. And in the schools. And so they started reaching out, and they were like, what is this? The kids said, you guys made these. We want them. You should sell these. Like, they all knew we needed some help. And I was like, oh my gosh, really? And so we started doing that. We went to craft shows and all of these things, and that's how the business was born. And it was just amazing. So not only were we doing something that was good for our family and cutting down on that, not only the plastic waste, but all the bad chemicals going onto our food and the microplastics and all of that. Now we were starting to help the community to do the same thing. And it was thrilling. It was thrilling to me. It was thrilling to my kids to see that. They were the best little salesmen at those tables. And it was really, really cool. So why is this such a big deal? And because plastic pollution is ridiculous, to be quite honest. It's a global epidemic. It's harming our ecosystems, our wildlife, our health, and we have to do something about it. And I know people are constantly saying, I'm just one person, it's not going to make that big of a difference. 7 billion people are saying the same thing. But like if one person stops doing it, then maybe your friend will stop doing it, and then you can get your neighborhood to stop doing it, and then their kids in a different neighborhood. And now we have this amazing thing that's going on with all of the people, right? And if you just did one thing, it would make a difference. They're estimating that by 2050, which is really not, it's 2024, 2050, plastic will outweigh all the fish in the sea. I know. I don't like to be all gloom and doom. Sometimes we have to share the facts, though. We like to be joyful, right? 100% of the plastics that we have created are still here. They're still in existence, and they're increasing by just ridiculous numbers. The hormonal and chemical effects are just increasing to our water systems, the air, and our bodies too. So the impact of that plastic waste makes up 80% of all marine pollution. 10 million metric tons of plastic ends up in our oceans each year. Closer to home, 22 million pounds ends up in our Great Lakes. Those are our Great Lakes. That makes me so sad. And we are eating a credit card's worth of plastic each week. Each one of us in this room. All of the people out there. A credit card's worth of plastic. Oh wait, I brought my thing. Credit card's worth, right? Like that is insane. If you were to be like, hey, could you eat this? Absolutely not, right? But like that's what we're doing every week. So that was a lot of gloom and doom. I could continue to go on and on and on, but I really try not to be a Debbie Downer about those things. The stuff is going on, but we have the power to make changes. So back to our story a little bit about the store. So we started selling the product, and then it just kept growing and growing and growing, and people kept asking for more things. Well, what else do you have? What else could you find? Well, what could I do about this? Well, I really don't like this, but there's nothing else out there. And I'm like, hold on, I'm a fixer. I am a fixer. I want to fix it. I want to find a solution. I will just bend over backwards trying to find something for you. And so I just started looking and looking and looking. And then we moved into the Park Trade Center. I outgrew the kitchen and ruined a stove. And that wax, it's something. And then it just kept building and building, and more people were coming in, and I was just inspired, and I felt so just motivated to help people. And we were downtown one day, and I saw this really cool store. It was empty, and I was like, I wonder how much it would be to get into that location. Called on it, signed on the next day. Quit my job. It was crazy. And you'll even see why it's crazier in a minute, because we started painting, and the kids were in there, and my son was doing a mural, and we started ordering things and doing all of the stuff to get a whole store ready as a single mom with 5 kids. Like, it was the craziest thing ever. And that was March of 2020. So we were set to open April 2nd. That obviously did not happen. The state shut down. So after a couple of days of crying at home with everybody home, we regrouped. We upped that website. I went to social media, and we plowed through. And between all of the social media platforms, we were able to get enough sales to pay the bills. And we made it through until we could finally open in July of 2020. When we did, because we had no help also. We were too new to get any grants or PPP or anything. This is all like totally self-funded from $35 that I didn't pay my consumer's bill one month, and I went and started making the wraps. So we made it through. And then when we did, we started having people drive from out of state to come visit us. This was also COVID times, so people had a little bit more time and they were trying to be safe about the traveling. So, the family that got in their RV and they were just like, hey, we're not working, the kids don't have school, we're going to travel and safely see as much as we can of the country. And this family traveled from Washington. This is one of my favorite stories, from Washington State, and they were going to Maine. And they showed up at the store and they're telling, oh yeah, this is what we're doing. And I was like, that's so cool. What brought you to Michigan? Like, are you going to see the lakes? Are you going to see, the national parks? Like, what are you doing? And they were like, no, we came here to see you. It was great. Their 2 teenage daughters had seen us on social media and they wanted to come visit. So we had a bigger reach. Our sales are global, and so it's just really cool to see all of the people, that are making changes. So it has grown from our one little product. We now have over 500 products in our store. We have 65 vegan, clean, and concentrated refills where you can bring in your own bottles and containers into our store and fill them up and take them home and use it and bring it back and fill it up and take it home. So instead of going to the store and buying more trash, you can just fill it back up, which is really cool. And that can be anything. If you've got a Tide bottle or a Dawn dishwashing, or you got a little honey bear you want to put some shampoo in, you can do that. Go. A wine bottle, like we have people, sour cream, like all of the containers you can bring in and fill up with whatever you want. We have 20 free community recycling programs we offer to the community for hard to recycle items as well. So just strange things, mascara wands and wine corks, oh my gosh, broken markers, crayons. The styrofoam, yes. We collect EPS styrofoam. After 4 years, the city of Kalamazoo has actually partnered with us and they help us with that now. So instead of me hauling it in, my little van over to the semi at Mayor's Riverfront, they come and pick it up from us now too, which is great. So they do that collection at Mayor's Riverfront Park 4 times a year, and we collect it the rest of the time for the community. So as you can imagine, we have a basement filled with styrofoam all the time. So, but it's great because otherwise it would just be going to a landfill. Now we make 80 products in-house instead of just the one. So we were having a hard time with some greenwashing companies that were out there. We thought it was a good company, found out that maybe it wasn't. We were like, forget this, we're gonna make it ourselves. We know where the products come from, we know the ingredients, we make it, and then we give it to everybody to use. So what our future is, when I was growing up, it was the 3 R's, and now there's like 10 R's, and we want that first one to people to remember is refuse. Refuse should be our first R. Saying no to the plastic as much as you can, if you're able to, that should be your first R, is to say, nope, I don't need that bag. Nope, I don't need that straw. I'm gonna take that without the packaging if possible. I'm gonna choose this product over that one because of how it's wrapped, those types of things. We want to help to clean up marginalized communities, decrease illness, and just really start to repair what we've done, even if it's just in our hometown. Our impact so far, now this one's weird because the business has been around for 8 years, but the store has been around just for 4, so it's kind of a combination of all of it. But 49,000 refills, which is pretty amazing, I think. This is a really close estimate, 1,257,014 pieces of plastic have been diverted from landfills. We filled 2 semi-trucks of polystyrene, the EPS foam, the styrofoam, just from the collection at our store, which I'm very proud of because it's a pain to deal with. And then we've sent off 30 boxes of hard-to-recycle materials that have gone on to a better life, actually, not just being dumped in a dumpster. So our 3 pillars that my kids helped me to put together were to encourage, educate, and inspire. So we want to encourage people to make one change. You don't have to make 50. You don't have to go into your house and be like, oh, we're getting rid of all of this stuff. We just want you to make one change. Go home, look at what you've got in your house, and just use up what you have first. That is the main key, right? Don't pitch it, because that's not helping the situation. Use up what you have first, and then just make one change. And then when that change feels super comfortable and you're like, no, that's just what I do. I'm cool like that. I do that. Then make one more change, and then just continue that forever. Encourage people to do their best. That's really, really important to me. So back in the day when I was trying to make all of these good things, do all these good things for my children, I had such eco guilt and I had such mom guilt. I can't believe I've let all of this stuff happen. Oh, I'm such a bad mom. Oh, we're using 5,000 plastic baggies in a school year for my kids' lunches. Literally, that's what we were using. Like, I felt so bad. Like, oh, no, I was doing my best. And then I changed and I did better. Like, so just do your best. That's all that anybody can ask for. And then encouraging people to think about the start of a product from the life of a product. So from start to finish, like, what's that look like? If I buy this, what am I going to do with it at the end of its life? Can I recycle it for real? Can I reuse it in my house? Or is this just going to go into the trash? If you're making a product, we have lots of entrepreneurs in this town, turns out. What does that look like? Your packaging, how you make it, what's that product? Like, thinking about it from start to finish. You might have a great idea, and then you're like, oh, I need to put cello wrap on it, and I need to put this thing on it, and it looks pretty, but is it necessary? Because it's just going to get thrown out. So I help a lot of small business startups thinking through those steps, because sometimes that's just, again, convenience and what we know. It feels like I should wrap it like that. It feels like I should put this stuff in it to make it pretty. And we found that, I mean, we hardly have any packaging in our store, and people don't have any problem thinking it's pretty cool stuff, which is nice. Educate is our next one. Educate on the harmful effects of plastic, not only the waste of it all, but just the effects on our bodies. Just all the chemicals and all of that, and then educating on the alternatives, because it turns out there's alternatives for almost everything that you can find at Meijer. You don't have to do that. And making things affordable and accessible, because that was one of the huge issues that I had, was that I couldn't afford those things, and it broke my heart. And I don't want anyone to feel like that when they're coming into our shop. You should be able to come in and at least get something, or come back in 2 weeks and be like, oh, I can get that now. Everything is extremely affordable, to the point where, like, people are like, you should raise your prices, you need to be making some money. And I'm like, no, that's not it. So we have to pay the bills, but like, we keep it very, very, very low. And then inspiring people through our personal story, my kids' journey, and just, doing the best that you can with what you have. So our name, I think it's important to share, is a great story, because we won't get into all the deep, dark details, but I've had a really not pleasant life, and some points of it where some really horrible things have happened to me from childhood through adulthood. And every single time one of these traumatic experiences happened, I would talk to my grandmother, and I would call her. My parents weren't necessarily the best support system, but my grandma was great. And I would call her and I would tell her, and I'd be sobbing, and I couldn't believe this happened, and what am I gonna do? And she would listen, and then she would talk, as grandmas do, and then she would always say, Jessie, I want you to be joyful and hope, honey, that things are gonna get better. And I would be patient in all of these horrible times, and be faithful in prayer. And she would just tell me that, and I would always be like, oh, thanks, Grandma, that's great. I'm like dying inside, and this is what she's telling me. It didn't make sense as a child and as a teenager. And then as I got older, I was like, oh, I kind of get it now. So that saying, that, that verse has been just ingrained in my brain. And when we were trying to come up with a name for our first product, the food wraps, my kids were going on about all kinds of craziness. But they started talking because it's made out of beeswax, and it was the hive this and the bee's knees and all of this kind of stuff. And I was like, oh, be joyful. It needs to be joyful, because we want people to be joyful that there is a good product out there. Be joyful that you can make a difference. And that's what that has turned into, from my grandma telling me that to calm my heart, to now that's what we want to help people to do with our store and our products. So, and then our mission, obviously, if you haven't gotten it so far, is to help people to cut down on plastic pollution. We foster inclusivity, empowering and embracing sustainable living through encouragement, education, and inspiration to impact our world for future generations. And all of us that are here right now. That's all I got. That's it.